Welcome, I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today as we explore concepts with the objective of improving your management skills and growing your business. At the beginning of each and every video, I like to remind you to grab a notepad and a pen so that you can make a commitment to yourself that you'll jot down a note, some sort of action item that you can implement in your business today. All right, today let's cover the concept of truth in business. Tell the truth. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You know, there's that scene in A Few Good Men between Tom Cruise's character and Jack Nicholson, and he's like, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. What is it about truth? There's the game, Truth or Dare, where participants make the decision of whether they would rather tell the truth about something in response to a question from the other participants, or maybe subject themselves to some sort of risk or ridicule or harm of some kind through the concept of a dare. And most people pick dare. I think they would rather take the risk than be subjected to maybe the humility or whatever the consequences are of telling the truth. Now that always struck me as a little odd, because it's not like the other people in the game could confirm whether or not the person who chose truth was telling the truth. It's a really odd thing. So let's talk about it in the context of business. You know, there's a book by Jack Welch called Winning, and I think he dedicates the entire second chapter to the concept of candor. And candor is not completely synonymous with truth, but certainly truth is at the heart of candor. Have you been in a conversation with someone where you're going back and forth and they will say something like, can I tell you the truth? It's like, no, I prefer that you continue to lie to me. Haven't you been telling me the truth this far? Or maybe in a sales presentation, I've heard sales representatives say, to tell you the truth, which, you know, implies that other things that they were discussing prior to that statement may not be the truth. It's just an odd thing. And people are saying, can I be frank with you? And that kind of stuff. In Jack Welch's book, he's referring to how important candor is, because without it, you just have a whole host of problems that you have in an organization. And this came up recently in our organizations where I had to remind a manager the value of candor, the value of truth. And often what you'll get from people as they sort of have this aversion to the truth is the objection of somebody being upset with them, somebody not being able to handle the truth. Somebody may push back or be offended, and then that would in some way damage their relationship. Yet I would say trust in an organization is such an important thing in terms of a value and in terms of a culture. It's so imperative. In order to have empowerment in an organization, you need to have trust. And by failing to be candid, failing to be truthful, even when it hurts, sometimes the truth hurts. There's so many expressions. Failing to do so will erode trust, because people later find out that maybe you weren't forthright with them with all the facts, or they know the truth deep down and you're avoiding it. And so there's this sort of thing where people aren't discussing it, but we all know that we're holding back. And in business, it's really critical, as I say, to have that culture of trust and be able to empower people, but also for ideas to be shared and to deliberate. This is how you're going to weed out some really bad concepts. And this is how you can make more rapid decisions. If it takes forever, it's like pulling teeth to get people to say what they really mean, then it just slows down everything. And speed is, as I think Elon Musk said, a fundamental determinant of the competitiveness of a business. So you want to be able to do things which enable you and enable your business to process information faster and to, in any way, to gain a competitive advantage through speed of operations. And communication is really key. If you're not prepared to be candid, if you're not prepared to exercise candor in communications, forthrightness, and utter truthfulness at all times, it slows things down and it prevents people from being able to share their best ideas. Somebody suppresses something, somebody has something really valuable to share, and they choose not to because it may be for those reasons that people have. It may offend somebody, or others may disagree. Somebody might think that what they're saying is stupid, or you've heard people talk about, oh, I don't want to throw that person under the bus. I always respond to that, well, I'm driving the bus, so don't worry, I'm not going to run you over. Don't be worried about being thrown under the bus. Let's try to commit with one another that we will open up our communications and be very truthful. The Bible, in particular the New Testament, and I think the Gospel of John is really loaded, chock full of references to the truth, where Jesus says, the truth shall set you free, and I am the way, the truth, and the life. And in response to Jesus speaking about truth, Pontius Pilate asks, what is truth? So there's something really fundamentally important about truth to us as human beings. It's so critical to face the truth. And in the context of business, it's really important as well to grab hold of that and embrace it. And then I'm just asking you to look at your organization and try to consider those times where people avoid speaking out, where people avoid sharing what's really on their mind, the truth, because of a fear of some sort of consequence. And you need to discuss that. Share this video with your people and make a commitment to your people that there will never be anyone who will suffer negative consequences as the result of the truth. And instead, now there will be, I do want to make a caveat there. Somebody may do something wrong, and then later they tell the truth about what they did wrong, and there's consequences for all of our actions. And there may be, therefore, a consequence to what they did wrong, but it's not a consequence in response to the truth. That's why people sometimes intentionally deceive or lie, is because they're trying to avoid the natural consequences of what they did wrong. But that's not the main reason that there's a lack of, forthrightness, of candor, and people speaking what's on their mind in business. It's more about, I think, it's more about people being afraid that it will be sort of some pushback. It'll be some sort of dissension from what the boss is saying. It'll be contrary to the views or the popular opinion of the crowd. And yet these things are very important. And we're living in a society these days where if you don't agree, somehow you are cast as, you are portrayed as you are evil in some way. Yet I would argue that it is the disagreement that is so imperative. And disagreement starts with people having the courage to speak the truth when what they have to say is unpopular. Think of all the business solutions that you might be able to come up with if people felt more comfortable and free and empowered to speak the truth, if you had that culture in your organization. In order for anything that I'm saying today to really resonate and be impactful in terms of changing things and improving your business, you really have to be able to identify in real world terms how this is impacting your business. I'll give an example of what occurred. And this is what I mean. These are the types of things to look for in your organization. Look to see if you're doing it, if your people are doing it, and discuss it with one another so you can eliminate this. So there was a group meeting, and when the meeting was over, a member of the team met with me and then started speaking his mind about some things that everyone would have benefited from in the meeting. And I had to say, why wouldn't you have brought that up before? And there was that concept of, well, I didn't want to, it's not my place to criticize so-and-so, and I didn't want, you kind of threw me under the bus there by putting me on the spot, these types of discussions. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not the culture that I want. So please, next time in a group environment like that, speak your mind. It's nothing personal. And that's just one example that you see in business. And I want you to look at your business and ask yourself, are you encountering this? Because it is, sort of a silent killer. It's one of these things that you don't realize how much it's impacting your organization. All the various ideas you might be failing to capture from your people. We've talked about the 8th form of Muda, and that is the untapped resource, leaving dormant all the creativity and ideas of your people in your organization. That's the 8th form of waste, according to the Toyota Way. And in an organization that lacks the value of truth and candor and people being able to speak their mind, then you are certainly going to have a lot of waste. As with all things in a culture, and especially in the business world, it takes time to change. So this isn't something that's going to, you'll flick a switch and overnight you will have vast improvement. These are things that you have to practice. And so, practice makes perfect. I would advise you, and a little tip I would give you today is that you're gonna need to put in some sort of exercise into your organization where people are forced to tell the truth. They are forced to be candid, and it takes them outside of their comfort zone. And then, just like imagine in your mind's eye, if you will, somebody learning to swim, maybe a small child, a little tentative about the water, and you're encouraging him to jump off the side of the pool or whatever, and it's like, it's okay, I've got you. Or maybe you're bobbing up and down, holding a small child in the water, and you're going to tell them, hold the breath, and you're gonna go under really quick, and you want to reassure them that it's going to be okay. It's sort of like that in your organization when it comes to something like this, where you want to change a behavior and you want to reassure people that it's going to be okay. So you have to put an exercise in place where people are forced to go out of their comfort zone and tell the truth. And this might be something that is a criticism of another individual or another department, but it's not personal. And then what happens is you show them it's okay. This is not personal. And people over time, when you do this, if you are effective as a leader in making sure that there is no blowback and that people really can be safe in telling the truth, and that there is a real good that comes out of dissension and discussion and deliberation, by doing this and practicing this, people will get that self-assurance, and they'll realize, okay, it is okay to speak up. We are beginning to have that culture. But it all starts with going out of your way consciously to do this. So I would highly recommend that you set something up. So if you already have some sort of monthly meeting or maybe weekly get together, maybe even have a daily thing that people are meeting together, incorporate something where somebody has to step outside of their comfort zone and speak something candidly, very frankly, or tell the truth. It may be something that they're revealing about themselves, and I'm not saying get into personal issues or whatever, but there's something that they're going to say that they are in, I hate to use the term, but I'm going to, in a safe space, that they're not going to be attacked, and they don't have to be defensive, and they don't have to worry about everybody shooting down. There are no stupid questions, there are no stupid statements. And that's really, when we're making these statements, sometimes it is a question. Sometimes we don't have all the facts, and we are making a judgment or a criticism based on limited information, and then the group can say, oh, I can appreciate where you're coming from on that, because I used to think the same thing until I found out this new information. Now I know that's not right, and everybody benefits. My whole point is, have an exercise where you as a team go out of your way to discuss these things, and then keep bringing this up, making sure people know, nobody take anything personal, here's what we're going to do, and just remind people sort of the rules of the game. This is so that we can instill in our organization a culture of truth and the value of candor, so that we can speed up our operations, and we can make sure that we're not falling victim to the waste of the 8th form of waste, and people not sharing their ideas. And then just, you're looking for improvement, and you're sharing with everybody. That is the name of the game, and that's why we're doing this. So whether you do an exercise like that, or you just continually remind people about the value and that of speaking candidly in the organization, and that is something that you're aspiring to, and you have to go back to this time and again, and encourage people. And you have to call it out when you see somebody. In a meeting I was engaged in recently, I said, it seems to me that here's how you feel, but you're afraid to say it. And I basically had to put words in someone's mouth and then make them either dispute what I was saying or agree with me. So you may have to do things like that. You have to extract the candor from somebody. You have to bring their opinions out and then remind them, well, please say that next time, because it's really important that we all speak up, and we're all going to benefit from this, and nobody's taking it personally. You're gonna have to do this on a regular basis in order to create this culture and create this change, and you're gonna benefit from it. Your organization will benefit from it. That's about as much as I want to say on the topic today. This is something that I visited before in another video, and in that video I referenced a really excellent podcast by Malcolm Gladwell in his Revisionist History podcast, where he talks about how it's not so straightforward, the truth and recollection. It's a little bit different than what we're talking about today, but I want to recommend that again. If you haven't seen that, I'll put the link in the description. And I wanted to cover this concept because it's so imperative. Like I said, Jack Welch, one of the business gurus and most successful guys of at least the last century in terms of business proliferation, I would say that for him to choose his second chapter of his best-selling book to dedicate to this topic means it's really critical in business. It's something that he pointed out, he identified early on that's really, really important for an organization the size of General Electric. So it's certainly going to be something in your organization as well that you can benefit from. So that's where I want to leave it today. I'm curious to hear from you whether or not you think you can benefit from this. Do you have some tips that anybody else could implement in their business in order to gain a better culture of candor and to be not afraid of the truth, not truth averse? The truth shall set you free. If so, leave a comment that we can all learn from. We need to learn from one another. Perpetual refinement.